I feel obligated to warn you that some of the sensations, some of the physical reaction which the actors on the screen will feel, will also be experienced for the first time in motion picture history by certain members of this audience.
Every horror movie, good or bad, tells a story. But every horror movie you've ever seen also has a story, sometimes scarier and more dreadful than what's on screen. Join Sinful Cuts with your hosts, Sean O'Connor and Shannon Bushman-Montalbano, as they open the book on these horror movies and tell their story chapter by chapter from start to finish. The good, the bad, the laughter, the tears, the celebration, and the heartache. Join us as we harness the lightning and resurrect these tales one last time as Sinful Cuts presents
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
It was a night like any other night. Then something happened.
You see that?
Something different.
It's no shooting star.
Why here? Why now? Why clowns? They've been knocking them dead all over the universe.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Soon they'll be doing it at a theater near you.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Maybe they're just cruising through the galaxy and stopped here for a bite to eat.
You don't need a police pal, you need a psychiatrist. They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's crazy.
Hey, Cinners, I'm Shannon.
And I'm Sean.
And this is Sinful Cuts.
What do we have tonight, Shannon?
Oh, we got a little movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, 1988. What was, before we get into it, I want to know what your interaction with this movie was. Let's talk about how we came to it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it as a kid, and I think I caught it. I want to say I caught it from I caught it on television because I know I do remember the first time I saw this movie, like it wasn't from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I did kind of miss that scene, with the, like I know they took from the Blob, the 1980s, well, it's the same year, but they, worked off that a little bit. Well, I guess the 1958 version had the old man and his dog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they took it from that. But I missed all of that. And I want to say like the first scene was, them like starting to roam around town, like, like the one that goes into the convenience store and they're just knocking shit all over the place. And the store owner's like, what the fuck is happening? The little girl, like who he's calling her to come outside. He's got like a huge mallet in his back. I think that's, and I remember these are like my first visuals. And I was like, what is this?
I came to this movie through USA Up All Night. Shout out to Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried. Hearts to you both. This was like a staple on VHS and on USA Up All Night and basically late night cable. It was always on. I I really I I have a weird relationship with Killer Clowns because I don't love it as much as I love like say Critters, which
Okay.
the Chiodo brothers did the creatures design for that. For whatever reason, like you've got gremlins and critters and ghoulies and spookies and killer clowns and even the 88 blob. Like there's a camp factor to the movie which I absolutely adore. But I don't know where it kind of like I love it. I absolutely adore this movie, but I don't know where it lines up for me as far as like, oh, this one's my favorite and this one's my least favorite. It's like solidly there in the middle. But what I do love most about it is that it is almost like it's like the Chiodo Brothers calling card for practical effects,
Oh
which
yeah.
you know how I feel about that. You know,
Yeah.
88, we're like right at the end of practical effect magic, and we're just about to get into some CGI shenanigans, which is look completely understandable. People are just looking for ways to do things quicker and cheaper. I don't begrudge any studio that. But we kind of go from here to, oh no, we're going down here. And then you and Matt make me watch Brain Scan, and I'm like, what's happening to my life?
You're always gonna find a way to bring that up.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's unpack this, chapter by chapter. Let's open the book on Killer Clowns, and
Yeah.
let's start off first, if it's okay with you, Shannon. Let's let the Chiodos speak for themselves. So here's a little clip from Stephen and Charles talking about their influence as children, which I really, which resonated with me because. The Chiodos were born in Bronx, and then as kids they moved to Deer Park, New York, which Shannon and I are from Long Island, so it's like, hey, hometown boys make good. But
Yeah.
they reference a lot of the things that I grew up with. So let's have a quick listen to these guys about their childhood.
When I think back on and what started me making movies, I could only go back to my very early years when I lived in the Bronx. I saw the original King Kong, the black and white version that Willis O'Brien made, and it just blew me away. I always tell the story that I asked my mom and dad to take me to the place, to the Empire State Building, to look for the crack in the cement he made when he landed. It was so believable to me.
For some reason, we enjoyed monster movies. We were introduced to them on this show called $1 Million Movie on WOR Channel 9. They showed Mighty Joe Young, King Kong, Godzilla, Rodan.
So that's what initially started it. I think it was the fascination with Willis O'Brien's King Kong that just struck the imagination of a little kid. I must have been like 5 years old.
All right, so Shannon, the Chiodos brought up during that clip something that's very dear to me, and we've spoken about this, I think, with Shea McLeod, Nap Chap, Mapple Frapple Bizzlebaz.
That's one of his clones. But you're talking about the Clay McLeod Chapman, I'm sure.
The one and only Clay McLeod Chapman. I'm pretty sure when we were unpacking Bad Ronald, it definitely was during that episode. We were talking about those $1 million movies like Chiller Theater, Creature Feature, but in New York specifically on WOR, there was the $1 million movie. And as a kid, you would tune in on Monday to see what the theme was, because every week was a theme. So like you tune in and it would be Lucille Ball and Auntie Mame, and you'd be like, shit, we're doing musicals. Okay, not my week. And then the next week it would be like, Robert Mitchum, and Bad Guys at Sunset. And you're like, all right, I'm down with Westerns. And 52 weeks, and you would get a Godzilla week, kind of like a Kaiju week. Like there'd be some Godzilla, some King Kong, but boy, oh boy, when you would land on like Universal Monster Week, oh, sweet Jiminy Crickets. I mean, it was like you won the lottery. So, like the Chiodos, you would get very excited. And, gang, we're talking about this is 70s. This isn't even 80s. This is 70s we're talking.
Yeah.
So, but it would flourish your imagination. And, these guys, their parents seem to be very supportive of their creativity, and they get the Super 8 camera, and they start, setting up their dinosaurs and their little action figures, and they start doing what would really become their calling card, which is stop motion animation, and
Yeah.
they're insanely good at it. Insanely good at it.
Yeah, they're
So,
quite the trinamic duo. Obviously, it can be dynamic duo, but it's a trinamic trio. There you go. Right? Am I saying that
uh,
right?
guess what you just coined? The title of this episode, the Trinamic Trio. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's little things. But come on, how perfect was it for them to, which I think is what it definitely core the success of this film. Because again, yes, is this film scary? Sometimes, but not really. Is it silly? Yes.
Oh yeah.
However, it's so much fun, and they were able to save a lot of money. One is a painter, the other one's a sculptor, and then the other one is a fucking mechanical engineer. Like,
Yeah.
they literally made everything.
These guys are a triple threat, honestly. The
Yeah.
Trinamic Trio is a triple threat. They had every base covered. But what I love about Killer Clowns is that it's very heartfelt. It's not a sappy movie by any means, but
Mm-mm.
you can tell that you're dealing with three brothers who love the genre so much.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's really a calling card for their skill. So, with that said, listeners right now might be saying, "Okay, you keep saying the Chiodo brothers. Who the fuck is that?" So let's unpack what the Chiodos have done. So we have these three brothers. As we said, they're growing up on Long Island, born in Bronx, growing up in Deer Park. They hone their craft through amateur stop motion. They're incredible artists, all of them. And little by little, like we hear from so many directors, genre directors, and not. I started out with a Super 8 camera. My parents were incredibly supportive. I started filming my friends. I started making little movies, and this is what the Chiodos are doing. And then they start, putting their films into amateur competitions, and they start to gather a little bit of a reputation. And this propels them to move out to the West Coast, where they kind of become enmeshed into the practical scene. The special effects scene in California, which like I want them to make a movie about that. Like I
Yeah.
want to know what that one's about. So just to give you some of their bona fides, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is their pinnacle of look at what we can do, and I love every frame of it. It's fantastic. But as stated before, they are the creature designers for Critters, which is so much fun and so campy and so delightful. They did the car 6000 SUX car commercial for RoboCop, which I absolutely love. They did that incredible stop motion animation portion of Will Ferrell's Elf. They did this one for me is it. It is it, and
Okay.
that is they did Large Marge from Pee
Oh,
Wee's
I
Big Adventure.
forgot about. Yes, they did do Large Marge.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chiodo Brothers, you are craftsmen extraordinaire, but you
Mm-hmm.
could have started and stopped with Large Marge, and you would have you had me right there. Um, they did the marionettes for Team America World Police. They did
Yes.
the dioramas for Steve Carell's Dinner for Schmucks, which I don't know if a lot of people have seen that movie or even like that movie, but if you do watch the movie, it's funny and it's silly and it's sweet, but their little mouse dioramas are so adorable that their work alone is worth checking out. And then this one it resonates with me because I used to watch this on cable, and that was Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater. They did all of the effects for that, and
Wow.
yeah, this is kind of like this is very niche Sinners. But if you're of a certain age, and I think it was on HBO, Shelley Duvall did this fairy tale theater, and they were just magical, wonderful little episodes. And if you were a kid, like between that and the Muppet Show, you're just floating on air. And Fraggle Rock. I mean, holy cow!
Come on. I loved Fraggle Rock.
Oh, just the
That was like my
trifecta.
favorite. That was like my favorite as a kid.
So, Shannon, we're talking about incredibly talented and incredibly skilled craftsmen, and they really have an incredible resume of what they've done. And if you listen to people talk about the brothers, they're highly regarded, but they're also they're friendly and loving, and they're lovable. People talk very highly about them, which I
Yeah,
love.
they seem like a good time. Like they seem like I don't know. I feel like we can go and like have a beer with them and have a good time and have a good
Right?
chat. Yeah.
Sinners, I'll direct you to YouTube, and I'm gonna put a lot of the links that we're gonna reference here in this episode into the show notes. Watch clips with them. The three brothers are a lot of fun and very sweet, and they're always very kind and very generous to the people that are interviewing them. So I love seeing that because sometimes you watch clips and no names, but
Hmm.
they're a little like they might be a little cranky,
Yeah,
and you're
or a
like,
little reserved, or a little,
yeah,
Yeah, no, these guys just seem like a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, we don't grow shy people on Long Island, so yeah, there's for good or bad, there's that.
There's that. There is that.
So let's fast forward now. So we have their beginnings. We have they're building their skill set. They move out to Hollywood. They're young guys, but they're becoming enmeshed in the VFX world, and they get an idea, or rather, I should say, I believe it was Charles that had the idea for Killer Clowns, and that was kind of like a nightmare. He had like a waking nightmare. He was driving through the canyons in California, and he had a thought came to him. And you know what? Instead of me blathering on, let's let him explain it. So this is the inception for Killer Clowns.
And it was a labor of love for us because even before we got into production, we've been thinking about this idea for many years. Started just conversations about, what's the scariest thing you could think of driving along a dark road. And it was if you looked next to you and saw a clown peering at you from another car. The original opening, as it was written in the original screenplay, we had a teaser that started the film, and it was our first clown kill. But because of some of the technical difficulties we had in shooting up north in Santa Cruz, the sequence technically wasn't good enough to open the film.
So Shannon, could you imagine that? Like you're driving and then you have this vision of a clown driving next to you without a car and just zooming down the road. You know how I feel about clowns. I would have driven right off the road. Right off the road.
But I can't believe they were able to recreate his entire nightmare. Like that.
Literally.
Did you ever sleep ever again now that you saw your nightmare come to life?
All right. It's
It
little.
looks so good too.
The practical in this movie is what I adore the most. I mean, they
Yeah.
really took their time. But here's the crazy thing. So, all right, let's start from the beginning. So, they get 1.8. They put a script together, and it immediately gets snapped up. Now, this does not happen a lot, Shannon, but I did the research. So, they put the script together, and they pitch it, and it's a one and done. It was one meeting. Transworld Entertainment, from now on referred to as TWE, who starts, or maybe I shouldn't spoil it, but starts out as the good guys in the story, and then maybe become the villain later on. But so TWE ponies up 1.8 million, and they're like, we love what we're hearing. They do the pitch meeting. They sell it in one meeting, one and done. Like, there are hopefully listeners who are in the entertainment world trying to sell a script that are hearing this now, and they're like, fuck that. I have had 478 pitch meetings and I've yet to sell a script. These guys just, like, they'll admit that it was kind of like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
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 So they get their one.
And
Oh,
just
sorry.
about everybody. No, I was just gonna say, and just about everybody involved were close friends.
Well, that was the thing, is that
Yeah,
they found out the hard way that making a movie is a lot of work.
a lot and nearly impossible.
They had a pretty truncated shooting schedule of their own making. Like, they're like, look, we were new to this. We really didn't know what we were doing. We're kind of doing it on the fly. And the three brothers were wearing multiple hats. The movie was directed by Steven. They all wrote the script. But anyway, long story short, they're so busy. And they can't really do what they want to do the most, which is the practical effects
Yeah.
and the VFX. So to your point, they start reaching out to their friends. Check out this roster. So you've got Mark Sullivan is doing the matte paintings. Now those matte paintings are so whimsical and fantastic. The interior of their spaceship. What
Yeah.
is what, I wonder what Mark has worked on. Oh, I don't know. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, RoboCop, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I mean, like, it's not like, oh yeah, my friend Ed works at the gas station and he's good with a paintbrush. They're getting incredible VFX artists, and I think you can see it in the movie. You
For
know,
sure.
so Mark does the matte paintings, and they're gorgeous. Fantasy 2 does the visual effects. I don't know, just a tiny little VFX house that only did the VFX for Terminator 2, the entire Terminator series. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? So that's who's handling the visual effects. Then you've got Joe Viscoso, who does the pyrotechnics. Joe has worked on The Blob in '88. He's worked on Vamp, House, the horror movie House, Ghostbusters, The Abyss, Barton Fink, Star Wars. I mean,
No,
they're
no big deal.
I love this. You don't even understand. I love this so much. Where it's just like, we have friends who are incredibly talented. It's like when I am like, Shannon, I need words, and then I reach out to you because you're incredibly talented and you know what you're
Aw,
doing.
thank you. I don't though, but thank you.
But you do.
You fake it till you make it.
This is what I'm talking about. They're just like, let's get our buddies together, and all the buddies happen to be like just incredibly skilled. And I can't even imagine how much fun they must have had on this freaking movie. You
It
know?
looks like it was a ton of fun. Like, come on.
How can
Come
you not?
on.
I mean, look at the subject matter. It kind of lends itself to having an incredibly good time. So, all right, they get this roster of VFX geniuses to pitch in, kind of like on the, like, we got you know, because at this point they've used so much of their $1.8 million budget that what they want to do the most of, they have the least amount of money for.
Hmm.
So they are, when you listen to interviews and they talk about their friends at the time who pitched in, they are just gushing praise on them because a lot of these people did it on the super cheap, if not
Yeah.
free.
If anything, yeah. If they got anything at all.
And you kind of love hearing that because maybe it does happen today. Who knows? What do I know? I don't, but you love hearing stuff like that. Like, I
Hmm.
called up a buddy and a buddy showed up, and I just love that.
Yeah. But that was
Okay,
like Evil Dead as well. Like didn't like nobody like they just literally went into the woods and they made a movie and
perfect
uh,
example.
like I can't say that without you not immediately visualizing what Evil Dead is in your head because we all know what it became. And it's just incredible when those moments happen.
It's like that old, like, hey everybody, let's pitch in and we're gonna make a show.
Yeah.
And what do we do? All right, so it's all been great news and it's all been a love fest and everything's been fantastic to this point.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Wah,
Sinners,
wah, wah.
I promise we're going to end up with a happy ending. I promise. There's no way Killer Clowns can end up with a happy ending. But now we come. Let's open the chapter here. So we have post production and we have the release of the film. Okay, so something very bad happens, and that is TWE, Trans World Entertainment, who had been our heroes in the making of the film, are now our villains because they decide we're going to release this movie during the summer.
Yeah.
Now, the summer with their blockbusters. And this poor little $1.8 million movie just, it's like a balloon animal that pops. you know, they
I have such
released
a
it.
visual now.
I mean, it was supposed to, the plan was they were going to wait, they were going to release it on Halloween or around Halloween, and they were going to release it to like 2,000 screens. And I think had that worked, if they followed that plan, it would have been a much better release
Hmm.
than releasing it in August against all these gigantic movies. And it's just like, womp, womp,
Well, it's almost like they wanted to like throw it away in a sense, you know?
right? Yeah. Which I certainly don't understand, but I think you're 100% right in that regard. All right. So it's unfortunate that Trans World makes this move, but it happens. So now Killer Clowns kind of goes out into limbo for years.
Yeah.
That was 88, and it's really not until 1993. It starts to become a mainstay on VHS, and it's on the shelves of Blockbuster. I mean, this is that Blockbuster era. And as I had mentioned before, it starts showing up on cable and on
Yeah.
USA Up All Night. And because it's Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the rotation is it's always on. And people start to kind of, all right, what the hell is this movie from 88 all about? It starts to gain a second life, which I think is fantastic. So, with that said, let me just get my chronology right here. Okay. When it's released, by the way, it it was not panned. It didn't find an audience, but it got some decent mixed reviews, but not like, oh, this is a stinko.
Oh,
That's
for sure. And then, and I maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit, but just the merchandise that they have now, like it's everywhere,
everywhere.
and I live for it.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. So let's open up the chapter on the legacy of Killer Clowns. So, to your point, what happens? Well, it finds a life on VHS, which then leads to a life on DVD, which then leads to a life on Blu-ray, which now leads to a life in video games, which
Yeah.
just got released a couple of weeks ago. And this damn Killer Clowns from Outer Space is all over the place, and the reviews are fantastic, and the Chiodos are all over the place promoting the game, which I kind of love for them because these guys are in their 70s now, So it's like to have a new life with the video game, to breathe fresh air into Killer Clowns, I think is great. But to your point, what happened was that all of a sudden Spirit Halloween is like, oh, you know what would be great? 2018, let's do a line of Killer Clowns. Halloween Horror Nights out in Universal, you know what would be great? Let's do a Killer Clown maze. And they just, like, people are finding this over and over and over again. It is like the movie that will not die and shouldn't.
And it should never die.
So
we're gonna
so
put
now
a cherry on top of this movie.
the legacy of Killer Clowns now goes from, okay, it came out and it didn't find an audience, to a bona fide cult classic. And now it's cemented. And what happens with a cult classic? Well, people start asking, like, okay, when is there going to be a second one? What's going on with that? This isn't a bad story, but it's not the ending that we want for Killer Clown.
Yeah. They've been trying for the last like 30 years.
They keep getting to a point, and every single studio unfortunately throws international at them, and they say, oh, your entire audience is domestic, and they may be right. I don't know. I don't I didn't go to the Wharton School of Business and Movie Making, so who knows? But the Chiodos keep saying, like, we get to a certain point, and then they're just like, look, you have no international appeal. People outside the United States, it still is it's not even a cult classic. It's an unknown movie. And I'm like, all right, maybe but I'm like, shit, Shannon and I'll go to, I don't know, send us to Rome. We'll show the hell out of this movie.
Yeah, I'll promote it. Like, where do you want me to go? I'll go there.
Right?
Where do you need me? I'll wear the damn costume.
Oh, I know you will. Oh, I know you will. I mean, you and I'll be.
I'd be shorty all day with my giant cherry. Like, where am I putting this?
You and I going down the Autobahn in Germany, just in clown suits, no car. Honk honk. I'm just putting it out there. We'll do this, and we'll do it cheap.
Yeah.
I
If
thought
maybe some of our London friends want to meet up with us.
What?
Throwing it out there. Shots fired. Pew,
What,
pew,
Colonels?
pew, 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 pew.
One thing that's not dead that I'm interested in is Sci-Fi Channel was like, you know what? We could maybe do a series. It hasn't really gone anywhere, but it's
No.
not 100% dead. It's not 100% dead. It like kind of like every couple of years, it just kind of like finds a little bit of interest.
It's
And
because I think it's because of the merchandising that's still out there. Like I said, it's always going to be on your mind, and the right person's going to be like, you know what, this
Yeah.
deserves a little bit of a. I don't necessarily want to say reboot, but maybe just I don't know. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a diamond in the rough, and we have what we have, and it's great.
And I'm fine with that. And I think you're
I'm
fine with that too, right?
I am fine with it. Yeah.
Who knows what the video game just came out, so who even knows what kind of like lightning in a bottle that's going to create for the future. So hey, fingers crossed. Does it? But if it doesn't happen, you're 100% right. It has its moment in time. It had its moment in our hearts, and I really do. I love the fact that it came out in '88, and it's in that little bubble of, like I said, The Blob, Critters,
Yeah.
fun horror comedies, Fright Night. Like it fits so well into that '80s, lineage of. This isn't a scary movie, but it has some, it's got some parts, but just that are fun and don't care if the audience. I don't want to say that don't care if the audience is in on it. I don't think that's not the point I want to make at all. They're not hesitant to be silly. I think that's what I'm looking for.
It knows what it is.
Yes.
It totally knows what it is because. And I think they knew that they had something special because, okay, so like we've been kind of repeating ourselves that it's obviously this is a comedy, a lot of very, very silly moments in this film, which it fits so well. But then there are some scenes, like, first of all, the clowns themselves are fucking terrifying, actually.
100%.
Yeah. If I came across this one that actually wanted to kill me, yeah, like, especially when they show the close-ups of like their eyes and like the like, okay, so the whole scene actually, I believe, with John Vernon, who plays Curtis Mooney in the jail, that whole scene, that's when it drops like a little couple levels darker, where a single clown, so a single clown goes in, right, and when John Vernon's character is, like he's the tough guy and doesn't believe anybody and those crazy kids and their music, whatever. And he's going to set this town straight, that he's that type of cop. But, and he takes his role very seriously too, which I'm like, but he still like works perfectly in this film. He's like the serious end that this film needed. So either way, so this one clown, like he just goes to like it, which he's playing around with him, but then he goes to like, and he hits him, and the clown just like does this thing where he turns around, like his just the top half of his whole body, like he turns around and just like looks at him, and you're like,
how about when John Vernon is made into the ventriloquist dummy? That's a truly scary scene.
That is a terrifying scene.
When he goes, "Don't worry, all we want to do is kill you," and he's got like the puppet lines on his mouth.
Yeah, the blood.
And you also know that the killer clown is working his spine, which, by the way, James Wan, we're on to you with Dead Silence, which he would do 25 years later. And we're like, okay, I see you,
I
James
see,
Wan.
I see, I see you. I see what you're doing. I see what
By
you're
the
doing
way,
there.
I hate to make a radical turn and give everybody whiplash, but I kind of love that Dead Silence movie, and we might have to
Oh,
do that one day.
I like that movie. I'll do
I,
that movie. Yeah,
I
I
really
like
like
that.
that one.
I do like that one too. but
Um, oh,
but
I
yeah,
just I
the
want to give our sinners the heads up on John Vernon, just so people know who we're talking about. He was Dean Wormer in Animal House, so
yes,
he's great at playing the dick.
one, yeah. He fits the
Not
role
one in
very
real
well.
life. From all accounts, a truly wonderful man. By the way, his idea, John Vernon was so in on making this movie funny that when the clown squirts him once, it was John Vernon's idea for the clown to actually squirt him twice, because he's like, it's just gonna be funnier. Like the more crazy we can make my character, it's just gonna be
Yeah.
that much funnier. So I kind of love that. John Vernon's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah, no, he was totally a good sport for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then what about oh my god, the Clownzilla at the end of the film when like you like and all the clowns start to leave and you're like, why are they leaving? Why are they
Yeah.
leaving? What's happening?
How about the friggin'
I don't
practical?
think I didn't mean to skip to the end, but you know.
Well, don't worry. We're going to circle back because I want to bring up the Chiodos, the script, because they actually brought in a lot of elements of their friends and some of the shenanigans their friends actually did on Long Island. But let's stay with Clownzilla for one moment, because that was supposed to be their grand stop motion effect sequence, which they specialize in and they're so good at. They didn't have the money, they didn't have the time. So they're like, okay, how can we do this where it's still going to look good and we can do it on the cheap? And it's rubber suit.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. But every time they talk about the ending with Clownzilla, they talk about the heartbreak of them not being able to do their stop motion,
Aw. They
because
probably had such a they probably had such a vision for it, but I feel like it worked out just fine. He like
it
it
looks
was one of
great.
the brothers that dressed up himself, right?
God, I think it was
I'm almost
Charles.
positive it was one of them that just handled
Oh
it.
no,
I'll
it's
just anyway, I'll handle it.
definitely a brother in there for sure. Definitely a brother
Yeah.
in
And you know, and they just utilize a depth perception and I didn't notice the difference.
there. Not at all. And the miniature work on the ice cream truck is fantastic. The pyrotechnics are fantastic. No, they really go to town on it, and it looks great, and it's so much fun. So all right, so let's we wrap up the film. It's great. It ends with Clownzilla. I mean, the Chiodos say, look, you kill a clown by popping its nose, and that was kind of like our homage to Romero with shooting a zombie in the brain. Like,
Yeah.
that's just how it's done. You know,
That's just what they do.
I love it. So a lot of people are like, why is in the beginning with Mike Tobacco, which by the way, love the name,
Come on.
based off their friend whose name is Mike Tobacco. Like, of course, this guy's from Long Island.
Of course he is.
So they're like, what's the deal with the rubber raft in the back of the car, which the two lovers are on when they look up and see the spaceship crash? And they're like, that's a true story. Mike Tobacco had a raft in the back of his car because he brought a girl to the beach and they were making out. And his father was super pissed. And he had to hide the raft in his car, and he just never took it out. So he's like, Mike Tobacco just drove around with a raft in his car forever. I'm gonna get the name
Sounds
so
about
wrong.
right.
I'm gonna get the name so wrong. See, this is when I need your Italian pronunciations. The Terenzi brothers,
Oh yes, yeah. Terenzi, yeah.
based off the real life Terenzi
The
brothers,
Terenzi brothers.
who actually rented an ice cream van because they thought all girls love ice cream, and they tried to get laid driving around in an ice cream van, which is like, I mean, I kind of love the ingenuity, but you definitely didn't think this through. But how about the fact that like 18-year-old guys are like, you know what to get girls? An ice cream truck. being at one point an 18-year-old guy, that would have felt like a foolproof plan. I'm like, this cannot fail at all. Until girls were like, you're a
Clearly,
super creep.
you didn't consult with any girls.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I would
It's just the blind leading the blind.
I would have ended up in the 7-Eleven parking lot, per usual, eating hundreds of dollars worth of strawberry shortcake and eclairs. Good humor eclairs.
Those are my favorite.
Oh my god.
D-
Hell yeah.
Delicious. Delicious. But
Cinners.
yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes where you can get the closest good humor chocolate eclairs. See, now I'm a strawberry shortcake man and I'm a toasted almond man, but I will fuck with them. Eclair all day long.
Yeah, I like them all. But the strawberry was always my favorite.
Room for all of them in my belly. Okay. So the Chiodos, they deeply mine their friendships from the Bronx and Long Island with the script. I mean, a lot of the stuff they put in there was stuff that actually happened, like all the way down to like the cars people are driving, and the ice cream truck, the rubber raft, the like lovable but kind of like dim bulb nature of some of the friends. They're like, that came directly from real life. Like, we had some dumb friends who were lovable as hell, but like they couldn't find their way out of a paper bag.
And now they're in this legendary film.
Now they're friggin' immortalized in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I do love it. Okay, so now let me just quickly taste. There was one point I wanted to make. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm sorry, Shannon. I already made it. Just the fact that this fits in so great with those 80s horror movies like Return of the Living Dead. Stuff that just has like it is scary. It can be scary, but it's just based in humor. It's got that good sense of humor. And it's funny. Eric from Cradle to the Grave, you've got your episode with him coming up soon. I just did one yesterday. He's in his 90s phase right now. I feel like Eric called me out for when we put the boots to him with Clay, when we were like, yeah, Eric's got to bribe people to come on his show with his stupid pins, of which I'm now getting one. I'm a three-peat, so I'm an official grave digger. Eric, I take all the bad words back. I love you, buddy, and I can't wait to get my pin. But I was asking him yesterday, I'm like, all right, dude, you're in the 90s now. We had banger after banger in the 80s. Like, it was an embarrassment of riches. Then you get to the 90s and we lose that sense of fun.
It slows down a bit. It slows down.
Yeah, it's not gone completely.
Yeah, but it's slowed down, I think, quite a bit for me.
Eric said the same thing. He pretty much said the same thing. Like, look, it's there. It's just we were spoiled in the 80s. It was coming fast and furious. You could bounce from Killer Clowns to The Blob to Vamp to Night of the Demons. I mean, there was too much. And then you get to the 90s and he's like, yeah, you got to really kind of search it out. Like, they're kind of fewer and further between. But now that we're decades and decades down the road, you can kind of mine the 90s for what it is now, and you can cherry pick the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. And there's good stuff to be had, but he is saying it's a lot harder, or it's a little bit more challenging to create those 90s lists for people to choose from, where it's
I was gonna say, it's kind of like that. You remember that game that with the oh my god, the magnetic fish with the magnetic mouths, and you just have to hover, the string, and you're just constantly like hitting like nothing. I loved that game.
It's so good. It's so good.
One. I need to find one.
Yeah, so let's be appreciative of what we had when we had it. Although, I mean, I'm a scooch older than you, so I could have probably seen Killer Clowns in the theater if I knew about it, but I did not.
Or if it made its way over here, I'm not sure.
I know, but it is. Look, it's there first now, so I think we can close the book on Killer Clown. It's a beloved movie, and if you haven't discovered it, get out there and check it out.
You really, really should. You should mention though one more thing though. Actually, you know what the most expensive prop was? Did you find that out?
I'm gonna take a wild guess. I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna say the Clownzilla suit.
It was the popcorn gun.
Fuck out of here.
That is so. You don't remember the popcorn gun?
Yeah, no, I totally
okay.
remember it. How
Yeah.
much did this thing cost?
It's a working popcorn shooting gun.
Oh, you gotta be
They
kidding.
genuinely put popcorn, and he was able to go pew, and he was pew. It genuinely shoots popcorn. But to get it, the mechanisms to get it to work, I think there was just a lot of they didn't really go like into the details of why, like, I guess like how they had to put it together and how they had to make it look alien wise. Like they couldn't make it into like a little gun. It obviously had to go out a little bit so the popcorn could spray out everywhere. Yeah. I just wanted to end on that. Just popcorn gun.
Of all the things in the movie, I think I definitely would have thought a popcorn gun, but I kind of love the fact that the Chiodos spent all that it's the most expensive thing.
And I wonder who has it.
You know, one of the brothers has that, and it's
They
probably
better.
I would want a piece of I want a prop from that movie so bad.
Oh, for sure. I would even take the raft.
Hell yeah. You kidding me? I'd keep it in the back of my car, and I'd just keep poking my wife. Come on.
Let's go look at the stars.
As Jen pepper sprays me.
Yes, she would pepper spray.
And she'd be like, "Why is that ice cream truck in the driveway? Go return it." I'm like, okay. Actually, I don't know why I made my wife sound like Large Marge. She's a delightful woman, and I love her to death. She actually sounds very sexy.
We all love you, Jen.
Yes, we do. Okay, so this is number one of our clown movies. Do we want to say more clownies coming up, or are we keeping that?
Well, we're definitely going to go into more clown movies, but I feel like every single time we announce it, then we change our minds, or something happens, or I don't know.
I'm going to announce the next one. I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm going to announce the next one. I know that we are so fortunate to have started a friendship with Joe Velasquez from the Film Joe podcast, and we're going to be doing just a standalone on The Howling with Joe. We're going to record with Joe next week, but that episode is going to record down the line as we get into our Creature Feature Month. So Joe knows, like, even though we're recording now, that's going to be more toward the fall. I'm going to announce that we are doing Poltergeist, because that is one of the scariest, even though it's not a large part of the movie, that's scariest clown for me.
It's that scene stands out though to many people, I think.
The age I was when I saw that, with my personal family experience with clowns, I will get into it. Thanks a lot, Mom. Yeah, this really, like the hairs on the back of my neck right now are standing up because this scares me. Like, legitimately, it scares me.
It was a creepy, very, very well done scene, but very, very creepy.
Yep. So we are going to definitely do Poltergeist, because I can't afford therapy, so I'm going to unpack this live on air. And hopefully Shannon can help me get through my clown phobia.
We'll see. I'll get you a popcorn gun.
That didn't sound very encouraging at all. We'll see. I was looking for something definitive, like, I will cure you. You're like, yeah, You're like, I think I'm going to make it worse.
like we have to face the problem. Okay, so I'll just buy him a bunch of clown dolls. Right, I got it. Okay, he'll stare at you at night.
I don't want any of this. Cinners, I literally just turned to my doctor and I was like, "Can you cure me?" And my doctor went, "I don't know."
Maybe I'm Dr. Kevorkian.
This is getting worse with every word out of your mouth. This is getting definitively worse. I'm ending the episode right now. Take us out of here. I'm so mad at you.
Okay, Cinners, and that's a cut. I'm going to go in the corner now.
I'll join you as I cry. My partner is a mean person. We're ending on that.
Aw.
Hey, you just listened to the latest episode of Sinful Cuts. We hope you enjoyed listening to it just as much as we enjoyed making it. If you did, we would be thrilled if you'd head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. We take them seriously, and we check them all. They go a long way toward not only making the podcast better, but also to get the word out on Sinful Cuts. We're also on YouTube. We would love it if you'd subscribe to us over there. Then you can watch our sweet little faces as we do what we love, talking about horror movies. Until next week, when we're going to have a brand new chiller for you, please put kindness out into the world and get your scare on.